So Tim, I know the last time we talked, we kind of got into lengths of trips, and you're obviously you're a very well-traveled man. You just came back. You're back in the States now on another trip. Tell us about this one and what that entailed.
Yeah, this was a pretty easy day. I was gone, I think, about 2 weeks. I was in Hawaii for 10 days, had a court martial out there. So we had a case that was initially in Okinawa. It was a Marine Corps case involving a sexual assault that we had a full acquittal in 43 minutes for a Marine that was falsely accused. And it took about 18 months to go to trial. But in that particular case, and this happens a lot in Korea and happens a lot in Okinawa, they had a lot of civilian witnesses. These were military police officers who were on active duty when the allegations took place. They're no longer on active duty, and they refused to come out to Okinawa. I think probably because they didn't want to be cross-examined by me, because I was going to expose them for a lot of nonsense they did in this trial. Actually, a lot of things they did which were illegal in this trial. And so they were refusing to come out to Okinawa. And so what happened is the trial got moved to Hawaii. And the reason it got moved to Hawaii is because we have subpoena power over U.S. citizens, non-military, in anywhere in the continental or non-continental United States. Because anywhere in the U.S. we have subpoena power, but the military does not have subpoena power over civilians to come to a foreign country. For example, if you're a witness and you're a civilian, the Marine Corps can't tell you, hey, we're going to require you to go to a foreign country. You can say, screw that, I'm not going to Okinawa, and you can't make me go to Okinawa. And you'd be right, they can't. So in this particular case, the entire trial was moved over to Hawaii. And that's where most of the cases in Okinawa or Korea that can't get tried there get moved to Hawaii, just because it's the most convenient location for all of the parties. So the trial got moved over to Hawaii. They were able to subpoena the witnesses. They didn't want to show up, but they didn't want to not comply with a subpoena and get picked up and arrested for it. So they reluctantly showed up in Hawaii, and we did the trial out there. That trial, we arrived in Hawaii on the Tuesday night before trial. We spent basically Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday doing the final prep. And we pretty much had this case ready to go. But there's always final prep you're going to do once you're on the ground, prep with your client, prep with the rest of the team, do all the final in-person witness interviews, because what will happen the majority of the time is what you think a witness will testify to changes at the last minute. And inevitably in every single case it does, because the prosecutors are just starting to figure out their case half the time. They interview these witnesses last minute, their statements change. And if you don't do a final witness interview of the government's witness literally a day or two or three immediately prior to trial, you're often going to be surprised at what they're going to testify to. Also, we had our expert witness flying. In this case, it involved DNA and forensic evidence. So our expert witness flew in on the Saturday before. So we spent the weekend doing final prep with our DNA expert, as well as conducting interviews of the government's DNA expert from USACIL, the U.S. Army Criminal Investigative Laboratories out in Forest Park, Georgia. So that was the weekend leading up. And then we picked the jury on Monday. We started with 22 potential jurors in the box. They're called members. That took an entire day to pick the members. We started with opening statements on Monday, late Monday afternoon. Then we pushed through trial, and we basically were doing closing arguments on Friday. So what we're able to do is pretty nuts. If you think about it, we had the government had 19 witnesses, and in a state court or a federal court case, that might take weeks to get through 19 witnesses, one of them being a forensic biologist who's going to do fairly complex DNA testimony. But in the military, we got through that in essentially 4 days, because we'll start 08 on the dot. The judge is getting up on the bench, and we're rolling. And we're going to go through the witnesses, and we're going to take maybe a 5-minute break if we're lucky, and push through till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night every night. So we're usually doing 10 to 12 hours in trial, 30 minutes for lunch, 5-minute breaks here or there, and we do that straight through. That's straight through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then we got to closing arguments on Friday. And remember, when we get out at 8 o'clock at night or 7 or 8 o'clock at night, there's work to do that night. So we're usually there, dealing with whatever drama happened throughout the day or prepping for the next day till midnight. So these end up being literally, 15-hour days that were there from Monday through Friday. Friday morning came along. We did the closing arguments. Government does their closing argument. We do our closing argument. Then the jury came back, and 43 minutes later, because we always time these things, at least I do. 43 minutes later, came back with a verdict of not guilty of all charges and specifications, which was a big middle finger to the prosecutor and a big middle finger to the dishonest cops because 43-minute verdict in the case involving eyewitness testimony, allegations of sexual assault, fairly complex DNA testimony, exclusionary DNA testimony. You would expect, in a case that took a year and a half to go to trial, a verdict that's going to take, days potentially. But the case was, we devastated the government so bad. And I mean, this was like epic devastation from opening statement through the end of the trial. I mean, it wasn't even close. And I think what took the panel members so much time was writing their verdict out, because they have to fill out a form. But they came back in 43 minutes with a full acquittal, which was, an awesome result. I mean, I made a video of it immediately after we left the trial, but it was just an awesome result. And after putting in, you're doing this case, we've been working it for a year and a half, and then you're putting in like an 80-hour work week. Everyone's like, oh, you're going to Hawaii, that must be epic. Well, yeah, it's nice. I lived there for 15 years. But at the same time, you're leaving your hotel at 6 a.m. and you're getting back at 11 o'clock at night. So you're not going out there to do the luau. That's for damn sure. You're working, whether you're in Hawaii or whether you are in Arizona or Yuma or any other beautiful location around the earth. It's pretty much the same. You get up early in the morning, you're in a courtroom all day, and you get out at night. And that's pretty much the same no matter where you're at. But we were pretty fired up. But after that verdict, I mean, it's really uplifting because you put so much energy and so much emotion into these cases. Not only that, but you have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. And then to be vindicated, maybe that's the right word. Again, this verdict was an indictment on the prosecution's case and what were fairly clearly false allegations and dirty cops. That it was awesome. I mean, it was just freaking awesome. But when you do these trials, you can't go out and, I'm going to go out and celebrate and get hammered for 3 days. You can't. You have to, you can celebrate and have the big, celebration, so to speak, with your team. But the reality is it's no different than in sports. If you win a Monday night game and you're playing Sunday, there's no time to celebrate. You're right back in the lab, so to speak, working again. And so we finished Friday night. Saturday was a down day for us. And then Sunday morning, I'm flying to Okinawa to do another court case. If you're a military service member and you're stationed in Okinawa, mainland Japan, Korea, Europe, or some far-flung location, and you need a lawyer who actually has the ability to travel there and win your case and not take a vacation while he's out there, give me a call and we can do a consultation. I'm at 813-669-3500, or you can look us up at www.bileckilawgroup.com.